And I don't like to sit on the fence on these things, but I am going to say this. The NFL, by the way, is about this. The NFL is prepared to meet with an Indian tribe pushing for the Washington Redskins to drop the team's nickname. They're not going to do it this week. League owners gathered yesterday in Washington for fall meetings, and this is one of the topics that came up. The Oneida Indian Nation held a symposium across town to promote their Change the Mascot campaign. Ray Halbritter is their spokesperson, said the NFL was invited to attend. They're not going to go right now. They're going to sit down and speak to them privately. The Redskins' name was not on the agenda for discussion, so Dan Snyder, by the way, who's the owner of the team, has vowed to keep the name. Nearly 4 in 5 Americans don't think that the team should change its name. President Barack Obama has weighed in. He said in an interview with the AP last week that he'd think about changing the team's name if he was owner. Well, that's the politically correct thing to say if you're the president of the country. But that particular Indian group, the Oneida Indian nations, think that the name Redskin is a divisive epithet, an outdated sign of division and hate. It's hypocritical to say you're America's pastime, but not represent the ideals of America, is their stance on this. Of course, then politicians jump in on either side. Here's Republican Betty McCollum, says the league's promoting a racial slur. This issue's not going to go away. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. This is what I have to say about this. This is what I have to say. As time goes on, we have to change and adapt. We used to say poems when we were a kid we thought nothing of. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch a by the toe. Insert the N-word. You'd never say that today. We didn't mean anything by it. It was just a kiddie's rhyme that we said. That's a very, very small example of things that have to change. If you read the newspapers from during the Second World War, if you go to a library and read the newspapers, you will see articles written by war correspondents talking about how the Americans bombed the Japs or were fighting in the jungles of Borneo with the Yellow Peril. I mean, these are things, that's the way we talked back in the day. And for old folks who still talk that way, I forgive them, because that's just the way that we talked. And now today, that is just not correct. You can't say it that way anymore. And guys like me and others around me and all of us in society have to adapt. Is it offensive? I would never say, I was talking, those words I used in reference to an era when it was okay to say it. I'd never say that on the air now. It's not professional. It's not right. It's hurtful. But if something is said and somebody doesn't mean any malice by it, then I think you should lighten up. The Washington Redskins, no one is saying Redskins as a racial epithet or a slur when they're saying it. There's not one person in America, when they say the Washington Redskins are playing Cleveland today, even think about it. The problem is, if there's one native Indian that is insulted by it, for whatever reason, you've got to take that into consideration. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with the Florida Seminoles, with the Washington Redskins, with the Cleveland Indians, with the Atlanta Braves. They were meant at a time when they're talking about great warriors. I understand in some cowboy movie somewhere someone might say, he ain't nothing but a redskin. That's where it's coming from. That's why Indian groups don't have problem with the names of certain tribes as part of the uniform. The Florida State Seminoles. The Seminoles are an Indian tribe. It's not a racial slur like redskin is to redskin. So, however, the team's name was changed from the Braves to the Redskins way back in the 50s. No one means any harm by it. I feel it's just one of these things that because there's no intent behind it, that we should just get on with it. And sometimes I think that groups, and I'm not saying they are because I don't know their mandate, but sometimes I think groups that I just mentioned, like the Oneida Indian Nation, get a lot of publicity because I didn't even know who they were until I just told you about them because I read about it to talk about it. Get a whole lot of publicity when they keep on bringing it up. I think if you just let it go, it wouldn't be a topic and it wouldn't be a problem. Doesn't offend me, but then again, I'm not a Native Indian. If it offends one or two of them, or three or four, or more, I'd have to listen to what they have to say and make up my own mind where they were coming from. Do they just want publicity? Do they just have an axe to grind? Are they ticked off with their plot in life? Is this a chance to be heard? Or is this genuine? I don't think anyone's going around the Native Reserve, wherever it is, saying Washington's playing against Baltimore tonight and feeling like they're, someone's calling them some vile name by saying the Redskins are playing Baltimore or the Ravens tonight. That's where I stand on it. As long as there's no malice, as long as there's no intent to hurt, I'm pretty much okay with it on most things.